So, greetings student. Today we are going to start a new topic, that is chapter number 5, Fundamental Unit of Life. A fundamental unit of life is nothing but a cell. Cell, if we define it, it is said to be the structural and functional unit of life. Now, we look in the definition that there are two parts, structural and functional. So when we say that a cell is a structural unit of life, it means that any organism, it may be a tiny ant, or it may be a very tall tree, or an elephant, or a blue whale. All the bodies of these organisms are made up of cells. So depending upon the size of the organism, there can be millions, billions of cells present in the body of the organism. Now that's why it is called as the structural unit of life. And why is it called as a functional unit of life? Because each cell is capable of doing all the functions that are necessary for it to be called as alive. Necessary functions like respiration, digestion, reproduction, excretion, and maintenance of itself or repairing itself all comes under the characteristic which makes it alive. That's why a cell is called as a structural and functional unit of life. So this is the definition. Now, why is cell necessary? What is the importance of cell? Why is it so necessary? Because for all these reactions, that means respiration, digestion, then reproduction, repairing of its cell, all of these are different chemical reactions. So these chemical reactions to take place, it requires a controlled environment, and cell is the best place which will provide a controlled environment for all these activities to take place. That's why the necessity of cell arises. Now, what is the study of cell called? The study of cell is called as cell biology or cytology. The cytology is comprised of two parts here. Cyto meaning cell, and logy means to study. So cytology, to study cell. Now there are different stories that are related to the discoveries of cell and its various components. So we will discuss it. So greetings student. Now, the history of discovery of cell and its components. The cell, as we can see, has a very long history of discoveries. Now, it was first time in 1665 when Robert Hooke could develop the first microscope, and his microscope was a very simple microscope with only single lens, and under it he could see the Spanish oak tree, the bark of the Spanish oak tree, which is the cork. Now, under his simple microscope, he could observe some cells or some compartments which were giving the appearance of a honey bee comb-like structure. Now, in that structure, he did not see anything inside. He could only see the boundaries. That means those were the cell walls. And inside, he could not see anything. Then later on, it was Anton von Leeuwenhoek who, in between 1675 to 1680, did a series of studies on how to improve the microscope. So the already existing microscope was made better, upgraded by the use of two lenses now. So Anton van Leeuwenhoek discovered the first compound microscope, and under this compound microscope now he could observe a drop of water. Then in that water he could observe some living creatures which were moving around in the water, and he observed carefully. They appeared to have single cell. And next it was Alfonso Corti in 1772. He said that inside the compartment of the cell he could observe some living materials. Then Robert Brown in 1831 discovered the nucleus inside the cell. Then it was Johannes Purkinje in 1839 who discovered the protoplasm. That was a living material, living substance in which all the other components, including the nucleus, was present. Now, After that, it was M.J. Schleiden and Theodor Schwann in 1838 and 1839 respectively. They said that all the living organisms, they are made of cell, and all the cells, they have the same basic design. Now here Schleiden was a botanist and Schwann was a zoologist, and both of them, they did their studies independently, and they exchanged their studies, and they came to a conclusion that excluding the cell wall and few little bit of minute differences, essentially the plant cell and the animal cell both have the same basic design. Then their theory, this Schleiden and Theodor Schwann, they had combined their investigations and gave the cell theory. Now in 1858 it was modified a little bit, the cell theory. Now Rudolf Virchow, he added his discovery also to it. He said that every living organism, it will arise from a pre-existing cell. That means every cell will arise from a pre-existing cell, which in Latin he described as omnis cellulae cellula. So greetings student. Now the shape and size of the cells. Do all the cells and in any organism's body, do they look alike? Do they have the same functions? The answer is no. In an organism's body, in a multicellular organism's body, there will be many tissues, there will be many organs which will be performing different functions. So according to what functions they do, the cell has to modify itself to suit that particular function. Only in humans body we see that the cells are of different shape and size. The first one is a smooth muscle cell. It is spindle shaped with the pointed ends and slightly S shaped. When we look at the blood cell, we see cells which are of different shapes and sizes. The largest cell in the human body is the nerve cell, and we can see so many branchings are present here. Then the tiniest cell in the human body, it is the sperm cell. It is the smallest cell. Also in the brain of the human being, the hind brain of the human brain, it has got the tiniest cell. Also in the blood cells, the RBCs, they are also very tiny. So the smallest one can be counted as the sperm cells. Also they will have a tail because they have to swim to the ovum for fertilization. Then look at this fat cell. It will be very big, roundish, and inside there will be a fat globule present. Then the bone cells. The bone cells, they are present in a space. Okay, this is an empty space inside which the cell is present. Then there is this ovum. Okay, and the ovum, it is very large in shape, large in size, and it has to accumulate a large amount of food material so that the organisms, the growing embryo gets enough nutrition from it. So the size has to be large. So it is the largest cell in the human body.